You're listening to the Watercooler Edit with Chris and Rich.
Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of the Watercooler Edit with myself, Chris, and Rich. He's always with me, but maybe not for long. Nah, I'm kidding. Rich can be here for the long term. On this episode of the Watercooler Edit, we'll be talking about space, but not the space that you see around us. No. This is an office space. What we'll be talking about is outer space, what's out there, out the window, and all the way up in the sky. Because recently a star has been sighted that signifies that the next season is coming, which means winter is coming. We'll also be talking about Emiratis in space. A couple of years ago, a young gentleman flew up there for the first time, hailing from the United Arab Emirates, and this year, the second one will travel to the International Space Station and maybe even the moon. But that's not all. Let's talk about the star that's been spotted. I think it's called the Suhail Star, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, yeah, the Suhail Star.
You were telling me before, Rich, that this star, that when it's sighted, it signifies that, well, the cooler weather is coming, essentially.
Yeah, a change of season is coming, right? So Arabic sailors and fishermen used to see this back in the day, and they would know, they would chart it, that from there, that it was going to start to get cooler. And it leads up, so it was sighted on August the 23rd, and that means that that's a month from when the autumnal equinox will take place, whatever that means. That means that's basically when autumn starts.
We don't get that here, though. We don't get autumn. The leaves don't fall from the trees.
You make a fair point. There is no autumn here. But if there was, it would start.
Yeah, fair enough. We get summer and winter. But then, obviously, with the sighting of the star, the weather has gotten cooler. Now, to me, I would say it has got significantly cooler, especially at night. It doesn't feel as humid anymore. You don't feel as stuffy. Also, going out during the day anyway, you don't feel that bad. Yes, it is still hot, but I've also lived here for a very long time, so I would be acclimatized to the heat. Other people obviously doubt me, saying it's still incredibly hot outside. I can feel, and I notice there is a difference outside.
I agree with you. You can notice the difference. I wouldn't say it's a huge difference, but maybe that searing edge on the temperature has just come off a little bit, so it doesn't feel quite as oppressive as it does in the real peak summer. And then we're on the track now, right? We're heading towards barbecue season. It's not too far away.
Back in 2019, which seems almost like an eternity ago, the first ever Emirati astronaut went into space for the first time, which is a monumentous occasion that was celebrated across all 7 Emirates. Now, for the second time, another gentleman will be flying up into space, a man hailing from Al Ain, and he's the tender age of just 41, and incredibly enough, he was a backup astronaut to Al Mansour, who flew up the first time.
It's Sultan Al Naidi.
Okay. And he is, as we said, he's from Al Ain. He's obviously grown up here and everything, and he's gone through very rigorous training, because obviously going up to space, while we all dream of it as children, some of us dream about it doing now as well, it is a lot of effort to go into space. So he's been training very hard for his entire life.
Yeah,
I mean, he's basically living the dream. He's going up to space.
Yeah, these guys dedicate pretty much their entire lives to this. You know, it's the pinnacle. He's going up for 6 months to the International Space Station. It's a NASA mission. It's called the Space Crew 6 mission, and they'll be doing various studies while they're up there and all that. But 6 months, huh? It's quite a long time up there. It's obviously a really big thing for the UAE to have their second astronaut actually make it into orbit, just a few years on from the first one. So, and they're so dedicated to the space program here in the UAE. We've got articles on the blog charting the history of the space program over the last few years. And I don't know, do you find that I like space stuff? I find it kind of exciting, right?
So yeah, space is very interesting. You know, I've always had a fascination with myself, and I wouldn't say I'm probably the only one. There's probably millions out there that enjoy space. I mean, I love the spherical nature of all the planets and all their different names and all the different properties they all have, which makes learning quite fun. And space, yes, okay, we look up the sky and we just see the night sky and stars twinkling, and we can sometimes see planets as well. It's always interesting to know what's out there. So this upcoming mission that we have here with the Emirati astronaut who'll be going up into space is in collaboration with NASA. Now, when you think of how long NASA has been going in and out of space for, compared to the United Arab Emirates, we're still relatively in an infancy, and to see us progress this quickly is incredible. And to collaborate with companies like NASA is phenomenal, you know. I'm not from the United Arab Emirates. I've lived my entire life here, but even I get goosebumps when I hear stories like this, you know? It's a fairy tale story, essentially. It's incredible.
It's totally a fairy tale story. If you look at the UAE space program, we're talking over the last 5 years, you've had the mission to Mars, right, into orbit around Mars. Now we've got the second astronaut going into orbit to the International Space Station. The amount of just those achievements in themselves, and there's many others as well, in the amount of time this program's been going, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's so impressive, right? Because if you go back, I mean, NASA's been going since, what I would say, the 50s. I mean, the first moon landing was 62 or 66, somewhere around there. Obviously, they're going back to the moon. The Artemis, this is why space is such a hot topic at the moment. The Artemis missions, it's going to be the first woman ever to land on the moon, to walk on the moon, and the first person of colour as well, ever. So that's, and they're going to parts of the moon that they never went to before, like the other side. And
so the dark side.
The dark side of the moon, yeah, where they'll find Pink Floyd playing a concert.
So the other big space story, of course, besides the Emirati astronaut going with NASA up into the International Space Station for a couple of months, is we're going back to the moon. Well, Bayut isn't going back to the moon. It'd be really cool if we started doing property on the moon. I mean, I guess one day we will expand into Bayut on the moon.
That would be some fantastic TikToks right there.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do 1 minute viewing, though.
Could be a struggle.
Yeah.
Not too many properties at the moment, but give it time.
But the market will be very lucrative up there, and I guess we'll have some new market reports to do as well. We've got the moon.
Yeah.
But besides that, it is the first time in a very long time, longer than my lifetime it is. I don't think anyone was walking around on the moon when I was growing up, as far as I remember. First time we went was 1960...
I think the last...
66, 69.
Yeah, it was around... I think the last people to actually land on the moon, to actually walk on the moon, was in the 70s. I think it's the mid-70s.
Of course, going to space is quite difficult for a lot of us. It is rather expensive, plus we have to endure months, if not years of training. However, if you want a glimpse of space, the moon, the other planets, and all the things that hang in the night sky, you can, of course, check out... There's a place in Dubai Mall, Rich, that you were telling me about as well. I always get the name wrong.
Yeah, I'll try and pronounce it and get it wrong as well. It's Infinity des Lumières.
So it's got that hint of French in it.
And it has indeed. It's a digital gallery, essentially. And they have different exhibitions going on. They change them periodically. And one of the most recent, is on at the moment. It's called Destination Cosmos, and it kind of charts the history. I think it's in conjunction with the French National Space Agency, with NASA as well. Kind of charts the history of space programs, man's relationship with space and trying to land it on the moon, etc., etc. But also just looking at our universe, like Milky Ways, black holes, etc., etc. But if you go to this, it's really cool actually. I've been there for other exhibitions as well, and it's because it's a digital, it's a huge space. All the images are projected on screens around you, but also on the floor. It's almost as if you're immersed within the exhibition itself. So you can see the stuff on your clothes and all the rest of it. It's really, really cool. And look, if you love space stuff, you're kind of going to love that, you know?
So if I go there, will I have my own orbit? Will I have my own gravitational pull as well?
You will. You'll have little moons floating around you. Little moons. You'll be like
many moons.
You'll be like Saturn.
It does have moons as well, though. I'm pretty sure it does.
Okay.
I think all the planets have their own moons, or satellites, as they're also commonly referred to as.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is Pluto a planet again, by the way?
What did Pluto ever do to anybody?
Yeah, he's just a lovely Disney dog. What
Yeah.
did Pluto ever do? No, I mean, I think that. I think it's being regraded to a planet. I think I read that somewhere, but it got downgraded to a dwarf planet because loads of dwarves live there.
And that brings an end to this episode of the Water Cooler Edit with My Bayut. And of course, if you want to check out any of the topics that we discussed here, you can of course check out the My Bayut blog. That's Bayut.com/My Bayut. And of course, keep looking at Bayut because maybe we'll have listings on the moon soon enough. See ya.
You're listening to the Water Cooler Edit with Chris and Rich.